Welcome to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Weemy, a peak performance coach and business strategist dedicated to helping you see what's possible within you, the blind spots that are holding you back, and the solutions to ensure success and fulfillment without the hustle. I use my secret sauce of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture to work with God to manifest your ideal life and business. If you're ready to create massive forward momentum in your business and bust through the blocks that drag you down, join me on the Spiral Up journey and create the clarity, confidence, and consistency to become the CEO that lives your life by design. It's time to create the sustainable impact, income, and time freedom you desire faster. Now is the time to spiral up. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Weemy, and today we're going to talk all about the law of assumption. Now, I am so stinking excited because I have the amazing Becoming Experience retreat coming up in just a few days. So literally, like as this episode is recording, we have just a few more days before I'm going to hop on a plane and head to the Dominican Republic for my retreat that I run twice a year. And many of you guys are listening to this, are listening on podcast or your podcast platform of choice. Some of you might be tuning in on YouTube or on the Facebook live broadcast that I have as well. And you might be noticing something a little bit different about me. I have done something different with my hair for this episode, and it all kind of ties into this really fun basically concept, I guess, of the law of assumption and how it plays out, and really, how I use that as the cornerstone of the Becoming Experience retreat, the luxury retreat that helps you to co-create, manifest your dream life with God. All right. So what the heck is the law of assumption? Let's just start there, okay? The law of assumption is you stepping into the future version of yourself, and you are acting as if it is already here, okay? Now, you're like, yeah, I just still don't get it, right? So let me kind of tell you a little bit about the cool concept that I have and how all of this kind of comes together, because you all know that if you've been listening to me for a while, I have this secret sauce of quantum physics, brain science, and scripture that I use with everything that I do. And the quantum physics part is really where I love to utilize the law of assumption to bring us to a place in our life that we want to be, that we can make the biggest impact, that we're living the life of our most beautiful desires, and that things have come to fruition, which is what manifesting means, right? It means to come to fruition. It means that the idea, the concept, the theory is now being seen, experience in the physical world, right? And that's really what God asks us to do. He asks us to recognize the desire that He's placed in our heart, and He asks us to trust Him, to lean into that, to know that He plants these seeds of desire on our hearts in order for us to live out our greatest potential. And that is indeed making the biggest difference in the world during this lifetime, that we can create the biggest impact for His glory during our time on earth. And it's really just acknowledging that and recognizing that it is not selfish if we want a beautiful life. It is not greedy if we want a beautiful life, because God will plant these seeds in our hearts to help us get into action, to do the things that are required to do to make the biggest impact. And oftentimes people will first off say to me, but Lachelle, how do I know? How do I know that wanting a beach house isn't just greedy? It's not selfish, right? Because that's on my list of things that I want to create in my lifetime. And the real true bones of that is, will the acquisition or the experience of this desire create a betterment for the people around you, the greater good? Okay. So if I have a beach house, for example, and I, just selfishly never let anybody else experience it, I just, go there and I think I'm the best thing sliced bread because I have this, and I don't do anything with it, then that is something completely different, right? But if I am having this desire for a beach house for reasons that will allow for my family to have these amazing memories, that I can create generational wealth for my kids and my grandkids and my grandkids, that I get to help them to experience these really cool memories, always grounded and rooted in, oh my gosh, can you believe what God has done for us? And give him the glory and allowing for this love and this expansion to happen. Personally, I also really want to create this dream life of, incorporating a beach house into my reality, because I love doing retreats, as the topic of this conversation today. And someday I want to be able to host my own retreats at my own property. And I want to be able to sit in the chairs that overlook the ocean. And I want to be able to be in my prayer time that I do every day and just be giving glory to God and being like, oh my goodness, like I can't even believe that this is my life. Lord, thank you. And allowing for this acknowledgement of all that he's doing to bless me, and allows me to even be that much more fueled and excited to continue to show up and serve and do things out of my comfort zone, because he continues to show me what's possible. Do you see the difference in that? And so that's one of the things that I wanted to just like acknowledge right off the bat. So when we show up in the Becoming Experience retreat, the whole experience is really based around the law of assumption that allows for us to step into the future version of ourselves. All right. And again, I'm going to allude back to the fact that, like, if you're watching this on video, you notice my hair is different. This is what I had actually purchased this hair piece because I wanted to like decide if I wanted to grow my hair out again, because I've had long hair for a really long time, and then I chopped it off into a bob. And I'm like, oh, do I want to grow it out like while I'm young enough to still do it? And so I bought this hairpiece, and it was just kind of this like fun glimpse into my future. And for under 30 bucks on Amazon, like I was able to like step into this future version of myself, and it's so much fun. So if you want the link to this, by the way, I'll have it in the show notes. And anyway, so like when we go on these retreats, we're stepping into the future version of ourselves. And I always on purpose rent a villa on the ocean, because I love the ocean so much. But there's also a lot of science behind the ocean, because the ocean and water emits a lot of negative ions, which helps in overall well-being of our body, which is why we always feel so blissful next to a waterfall or next to the ocean or running water, because of the negative ions that are emitted from that. And I want us to be able to be in this villa and step into this place where we're like, oh my goodness, this is what it would feel like if this was my villa. This is what this would feel like if these were my staff that were cleaning up after me and providing more time that I get to focus on serving people instead of having to clean my toilets. This is what it would feel like to have a personal chef that creates amazing, healthy meals that fuel my body, that taste amazing, and then again allow me to focus on what it is that I want to do in this world to make an impact, versus slaving in the kitchen. Like, I want them to feel what it would be like. And then what we do is, once we are in the space where I teach something, and then I say, okay, I want you guys to go out. I want you to complete these, pages of the workbook, or reflect on this, or do this guided prayer meditation. But I want you to do it from a place on the property that you would if you lived here. Like, if you were doing your morning routine and you're going to do a guided prayer, where would you do that? And so I want you to go to your bedroom if that's where you would do it. I want you to go sit by the pool or in the pool if that's where you'd like to do it. I want you to go down to the ocean if that's where you would do that. And it's so cool because people are immersed into what it would feel like to actually be experiencing this as if this was just any old day. And what happens is that when we are allowing ourselves to experience life as if it had already happened, there's something happens inside of our brain that allows us to be able to accept it as truth. Our brain is very well wired to keep us safe, to keep us in our comfort zone, and to look for patterns. Okay. So if I have been broke my whole life, that things just haven't really gone my way for my whole life, my brain, my reticular activating system, is going to continue to look for things in the outside world that proves that theory correct. It is looking for evidence to support that worldview. So I will continue to see evidence of the fact that I'm broke, the fact that life does not go my way, the fact that, things are hard, right? What I do inside of these experiences is allow people to start to
create a different experience. And then it builds upon a new way to focus our thoughts, to focus our reticular activating system, to start then looking for things in the outside world that start to align with this worldview. And it's really, really fun because I actually just heard from a client of mine yesterday, and she has been on my retreat before. She went a year ago. She's coming on this one. So we leave in a couple of days. And she's like, Lachelle, I'm putting an offer on this house. I can't even believe that I'm doing this. A year ago, this would never have ever been something that I would even think was possible. But because of the work that we've done inside of my program, as well as in this retreat, she is now leveled up her ability to believe in a up-leveled, more abundant state of her life. And everything that she's done up to this point in this last year has led to a place in her life now where she's like, well, of course I can put an offer in on this house. And it's like, it literally shifted her reality. It shifted her reality of what's possible. And it allowed for her brain to then essentially be tricked into thinking, yes, this is consistent with who I am. Yes, this is consistent with the life that I want. And opportunities and things and ideas and action steps have then become aligned with that version of herself. And now all of a sudden she's like, holy crap. And I believe the exact same thing. It's so crazy. Like my very first retreat that I did, we rented a condo on the beach in Orange Beach, Alabama. This condo was a condo that had been on my vision board, you guys, for years. It was this beautiful property overlooking the ocean with a hot tub on the deck, our own private hot tub. And I'm a sucker for hot tubs. And I'm like, when it came to deciding on my very first retreat property, this was it. Like, this was, in my opinion, my leveled up version of who I wanted to be. And little did I know that literally within a year, because that experience led me to then be open to, okay, well, I want a property on the water. And I literally bought my very first lakefront investment property within the year of that experience, because I started to take on that identity of the person who owns a waterside property and owns a hot tub and owns the space and whatever. And it's like, it's so cool because my own retreats continue to be leveled up. So I went from, stateside in Orange Beach to Costa Rica, like beautiful villa in Costa Rica, then another villa in Costa Rica. Now we're going to the Dominican Republic in a couple of days in a 15,000 square foot property with full staff, professional chef on the ocean. You guys, like, I continue to show myself what's possible, but it has to do with this law of assumption. It has to do with me putting myself into the situation that gives me a glimpse of what my future would look like. Okay. And then what happens is you then start to, because your brain is processing things different, you start to look for things and notice things outside of you that is consistent with that version of you. Okay. So when we get to our villa, when we get to the surroundings, the very first thing that we do on night one is a cocktail party. And this is the future version of our self cocktail party. This is my invitation to them to step into the future version of ourselves. And we get all dressed up and we show up with the posture, the energy of the person that has already accomplished everything that they wanted to do. We're in the vibration that is consistent with that person, that version of who we are. Even though we haven't experienced her yet, we step into that very first night. And I talk about the power of quantum physics and vibration and aligning ourselves with the vibration and helping them understand that the law of attraction, which again is just our application of the God provided universal laws that we get to utilize and tap into while we're here in our human experience, that allows us to then align ourselves energetically with the things that we want, with the ideas, with the people, the conversations, the motivation that aligns with the same frequency of those things. And all of a sudden those things will start to appear in our lives. It's so freaking cool. And so we talk about that, and we have a beautiful dinner. We have champagne to toast to, and it's just the most magical kickoff to our experience. Okay. And then what we do then is part of the law of assumption, part of this process, the next day, what our main focus is on is really tapping into the desires that God has placed in our heart. You cannot manifest if you do not know what it is that you want. It's like ordering, a steak and not determining whether or not you want it, well done or medium rare, not determining if you want it from, Denny's versus Ruth's Chris. It's like you have to know exactly what you want in order for this to work. And it's really us tapping into what God is revealing to us. What breadcrumb does he want us to take? It's so cool. I see this over and over and over and over again, where God reveals something on our hearts, and he knows that when he reveals certain things on our hearts, that we will then get into motion. If you're utilizing the things that I teach, you will get into motion on going after that. And sometimes he does it on purpose because he knows that if we get into motion for this desire, it will then unlock the next thing, the bigger thing, this or something better thing. And so he places these desires on our hearts as the breadcrumbs to get us ultimately to where he wants us to go. And it's always trusting this or something better. But first, it's the acknowledging the this, like, what is he leading you into? What is he showing you that you want to experience in your lifetime? What does he want you to be able to do? And we tap into a very well-rounded vision, because it can't just be money, because money is just a side effect of services given and services perceived. So how do you acknowledge abundance on the God level, the God perspective? What does that look like in terms of your relationships with him, with other people in your life, with yourself? What does that look like? What does that abundance look like when you are tapping into what you were made to do? How can you tap into your unique skill set and your unique strengths so that you can show up and make the biggest impact in the world? So how does that look vocationally, in your career, in your life? How does this look like in terms of your well-being, your body, your relationship with food, your relationship with alcohol, your relationship with movement? And how does that play out in the most abundant version of you? And then lastly, we look at how does this look like in terms of your financial and your time freedom? How would you be serving? How are you giving back? What are you doing if you had the whole day to do anything you wanted to? And really getting clear on where God is leading you. Okay. Then we start to unpack what are the bold steps that we would have to do in order to make that happen. And what are the little tiny things, the little tiny habits, the little tiny things that we need to start adapting and adopting into our day in order to make this happen. And we also, over the next couple of days, identify any roadblocks that would get in the way of this happening, of this coming to fruition. What limiting beliefs do you have? What subconscious blocks do you have? What are the energetic blocks that you have? Where are you doubting? Because when you want to manifest, there's three key things. The one is really clear, just knowing what you want, the vision, right? The number two is to believe without doubt that it's on its way to you. It is the faith in action. This is the ask, seek, knock that we learn about in scripture. This is the mustard seed. This is the, I tell the mountain to go into the sea and it is done, kind of like conviction, knowing, belief. And so I want to make sure that we are able to tap into any roadblocks that get in the way of that absolute faith in motion. Okay. And then the third step in manifesting is aligned action. It's doing, it's showing up and acting as if it's just on its way to you. This is the law of assumption and action. This is me deciding that I want to be a multi-million-dollar business owner because I'm making a massive impact. I have a large audience that gets a chance to get connected and build a relationship with the Lord and make a bigger impact in the world. And because I'm doing this, I am able to give back abundantly. Because I have this type of business, I am able to spend more time traveling the world with my kids and showing them what's possible. Because I have this impact, I am able to purchase the beach house that leaves generational wealth for my family. Like, do you see how all this is coming together, right? And so when I know that that's the desire he's placed in my heart, when I know that he has already promised and I just need to accept and receive his promise, then I must then therefore step into my end of the bargain and start doing the things that are in aligned action to that. So as a multi-million-dollar business owner who has several investment properties and is making a big impact, how do I want to show up? So it allows me to take on the persona almost as if I am on a stage and I am acting like this future version of myself, like an actress would in a play. And then we get to have this like freaking amazing aha moment where you're like, holy crap, this isn't just some play. This is my life. This is the stage of my life. And this is me working with God to co-create this. Right. And so when I'm acting, when I'm putting on my, my future version of myself as if I'm acting, as her, I'm going to make decisions based on that, right? So if a multi-million-dollar business owner who's making a massive impact is who I want to be, then I have to ask myself, is that version of me going to hit the snooze button in the morning? Or is that version of me going to get up and do my prayer time and morning routine, stretch, do my workout, and then get to work? Is that version of me going to grab the second and third glass of wine at night? Or is that version of me going to get a good night's sleep? Right? Is that version of me going to be scared to talk to my ideal client? Or is she going to just like tap into her inner goddess and like start to show up as a daughter of the king that she is and communicate with confidence, right? Is the multi-million-dollar business owner going to be afraid to take that risk? Or is that multi-million-dollar business owner going to be afraid to raise the prices that she's been told by people who know that this is what she should be charging, but she's been too scared? When you start to tap into that version of you, you're like, well, of course she would say yes. Of course she would charge this. Of course she would, be consistent and not allow lack of motivation to throw her down and keep her, inactive. You start to identify with that persona. You start to make tiny decisions day after day that are in alignment with that version of you. Guess what will happen? All of a sudden, you look back after the year and you're like, holy crap, like, yeah. And so this is where the consistency and the stepping up into the energy of that and to utilizing brain science, because when you identify with that, then you will start to act as if in that way, right? In the brain science identity part of it, the part of you that is able to accept sustainable change, the life change that you need is going to identify with that. And then therefore you are going to start to see things outside of you that are in alignment with that. And your brain, your reticular activating system will start to tap into that as well. Okay. So we're utilizing brain science. We're utilizing quantum physics. We're utilizing just overall really great execution and success habits and things that are going to allow for you to stay in that vibration and stay in that activity state, even when you're having a bad day, even when you're overwhelmed, even when you're sick, even when your kids need, extra support, even when things don't seem to be going your way. You are in a place that allows for you to stay in and step in and continue to step in this future version of yourself. That's a law of assumption. So you might be still thinking like, okay, practically, Lachelle, like what would this look like? So I'm going to give you just like some, real like interesting practical stuff, right? So my friend and I who went on our first, retreat together, Camille, she's a realtor. And it was so cute because the two of us were like in the plane ride on our way home. And we were both like on, realtor sites, like looking to see like how much would it take to own a property in Costa Rica in this region. And we both were having this, mutual, beautiful vision, right? And so that led me to just signing up for some realtor websites that I get every single day a picture in my inbox of several listings that are consistent with the beach house that I want. Okay. That little tiny action of me actually like seeking out properties to be sent to me is me acting as if, of course I'm owning of course I own a beachfront property. Like this is what somebody who would want to invest in a beachfront property would do. They would start to look for properties, right? This might mean that, okay, well, who do I need to talk to get financing so that when I find the right property, I already have all those steps in place, and I have done that. And so when you start to look at that, it's like I'm stepping into and I'm acting as if, and guess what happened? I literally stumbled upon our lake home property because I was acting as if I stumbled upon this lakefront property. I already was in the vibration of somebody who owns, like waterfront property. And I'm like, I wonder how much they're charging for that. And I was able to drive by this property on Thanksgiving. By December 14th, we had an offer accepted. By December 28th, we closed. And by January 7th, we had our first tenant, our first renter. That's how fast that went, because I was already in the frequency of that. I was already doing little things that were in alignment with that identity of that. And so when it came time for me to drive by this property, I didn't overthink it. I didn't think, oh my gosh, I wonder what that would look like. I already knew what that looked like because I had been playing it out in my head every day. That's another thing that I do with people, is that once we know what we want, I use brain science to help them to live that vision every single day. And I teach them that. I teach them about visualization. I teach them about affirmations. I teach them about aligning with that vision, so that when they get home, they literally know what it's like to be living that life already. So when opportunities are in alignment with them, they just happen. They just step into it. It's just natural. Right? Does that make sense? And so it's just, the law of assumption is so beautiful. The law of assumption is going to move the needle for you. You have to step into the version of yourself that already has accomplished everything that you want. You have to know what it is that looks like. You have to understand that everything is working out for your good. And when you can be clear, when you can have faith in action, and when you can take the aligned steps that are just consistent with that version of you, things will start to fall into place. And I got to tell you guys that my life is unrecognizable than it was 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, because I continue to utilize these types of things. Okay. So I wanted to give you a snapshot into the law of assumption. I wanted to give you a snapshot into why my Becoming Experience retreats are sold out, why 80% of the people who come have been to one before, because this works. This stuff works. And I love so much to spoil people at these luxury retreats and just to give them this snapshot of this life and give them the tools that they need to create this into reality, and to feel spoiled, and to feel just energized, and to know that when they go home, they have all of the tools to continue to do this stuff, even when life gets in the way. It is so much fun. All right. So like I said, we're leaving in a couple of days. Cannot wait for you guys to tune into all of the pictures and reels and emails that I'll send you with all of our amazing experiences and the property and all of the cool things. So tune into all of that stuff. And I'm also going to be, as of right now, like, you guys are the very first people to hear, we have a wait list that I am going to officially start, because these sell out fast. These are limited to 9 people at max. And we have, for this one, I have a massage therapist that is joining us. We have another coach on my team who's coming to give extra special attention. I have a photographer, so everybody gets their own private photo shoot. We have all kinds of surprises. I have my entire office floor right now is covered with swag because I just love spoiling people with the luxury. We have finalized our beautiful menu with our private chef that includes lobster one night and champagne. Like, this is like high level luxury, and these sell it really fast. And so know that with waitlist comes a deposit, because I don't want you to chicken out. I don't want you to get your low vibes talking you out of things. Like, we need to commit to our future version of ourselves. And I haven't decided on the location yet, but I'm leaning towards Belize. They have had some recommendations and some requests for Belize. So keep an eye out for details on that. And it's likely going to be the last week in February of 2025. So I'm just going to throw that out there. We will have the waitlist document inside of the show notes that you guys can go ahead and apply. And if I haven't met you before, I will want to get on a Zoom, because I'm very, very intentional about the people who come on this. I want to make sure that you're a good fit. And this will allow for you to have an entire 6 months to start saving and paying for this. But Oh, let's do this, you guys. It's all about the law of assumption. It's all about stepping into her. It's all about becoming the version of you that can make it all happen. And I want you to feel that now. I don't want this to always be something you're striving for. I want you to know what it feels like today so that you can start attracting it and your brain will start looking for it and things will just start falling into place. Yay. Okay. Cannot wait to see you guys, those of you who are going to join me on the next one. And I can't wait to share all of our amazing experiences in the next couple of weeks here. So make sure that you get on that wait list. And I can't wait to celebrate your future version of you in the days to come. All right, you guys. Bye, everybody.
So much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Each honest review helps me spiral up so that I can serve you even better. Whether you're feeling a lack of impact, income, or time freedom, or perhaps you're just ready for massive momentum in your business, let's chat. Apply for a breakthrough call so that you can gain clarity, identify what's holding you back, and make a plan to spiral up. Head on over to im-lifebydesign.com/breakthrough or access the link in the show notes. For immediate support, log into our community, the Better Club. We focus on inspiration, tactical guidance, and support. This is a community that wants to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business, and we're going to help you do the same. Let's spiral up, friends.